Yuanyang County was a full day's march south of Yin City. Zhao Su and the commander arrived as the sun was going down, and the county magistrate Gudong was waiting at the road before they had finished dismounting. He knelt immediately. "This humble official is guilty. Please punish this humble official, Your Highness. Get up first. Tell me how much was burned." 3,000 mu of rice paddies, Your Highness. Gudong kept his voice low, reading the temperature of the room carefully. 3,000 mu. The harvest of 500 households, gone in a single night. Zhao Su said nothing for a moment. The rice itself was replaceable. The prince's manor had reserves, and the loss could be compensated. But these were people who had planted that rice in spring, tended it through the summer, watched it survive the Northern D autumn hunt by a matter of weeks, and had been counting on it to carry their families through winter. "Your Highness, please uphold justice for us." The crowd came from the direction of the southern villages, perhaps 1,000 of them, moving slowly because some of them were carrying stretchers with injured men and women lying on them. Zhao Su went to meet them. When they saw him coming, they dropped to their knees in a mass, weeping. Not the theatrical weeping of supplication, but the exhausted kind, people who have been holding something very heavy for a long time and have finally reached someone they trust enough to put it down in front of. The commander, standing behind Zhao Su, turned a shade of red and kept his jaw very tight. "Everyone rise," Zhao Su said. He helped the oldest man to his feet himself. This king came specifically to address this. The grain that was burned will be fully compensated by the yamen. Every household. "Thank you, Your Highness." The gratitude in their faces was not performed. He looked at the injured on the stretchers. Gudong explained without being asked. They had been in the fields when the Yuan family's men came, and those who tried to stop them had been beaten for it. Zhao Su looked at them and felt the anger settle into something colder and more purposeful than heat. These people had sent their sons and daughters to stand on Yin City's walls and hold the line against the Northern D. They had dug tunnels and armed themselves and trusted him. And while they were waiting for the harvest that would reward all of that, their fields had been burned by the governor of their own province. If he did nothing, the news would move through Yin Prefecture faster than any decree. Every common person who heard it would draw their own conclusion about whether the Prince of Yin could actually protect the people who followed him. "Your Highness, tell us what to do. We'll do it. We're not afraid of a fight." The young men in the crowd had the particular anger of people who have been wronged and are looking for direction. "The village militia does not stand down," Zhao Su said. "Train. Patrol. The southern counties are not as organized as the north yet. That changes now." He looked at Gudong. "Send officials to every village immediately. This is the same threat as the Northern D, just wearing a different face." Then he looked at the crowd. "As for revenge, leave it to this king. This king brought soldiers this time for a reason." The crowd smiled. Someone shouted that Yuan Li was worse than a beast, and others agreed loudly. And the particular energy of people who have just been promised that their grievance is going to be answered moved through the group like wind through the rice that hadn't been burned yet. Lu Fu watched them and said quietly, "If the Zhang family was hated in Yin Prefecture, the Yuan family is hated across the entire province." Zhao Su nodded. He had made the decision to break openly with the Yuan family partly for exactly this reason. To let every common person in the 7 commanderies of Yin province see clearly that there was a side to choose, and that the side of the Prince of Yin was not the side of the Yuan family. People who hated the Yuan family would come to him. They were already coming. He sent the crowd home with his promise and turned to the commander. "Eye for an eye," he said, "but we don't burn rice. We harvest it." That night, under a moonless sky with a strong wind covering whatever noise 5,000 soldiers and several hundred young men with sickles could produce, Zhao Su's force crossed into the fields bordering Yuanyang County on the Fanyang side. The Yuan family's rice was there in the dark. Full ears, heavy, ready for harvest. Not their rice specifically. The Yuan family didn't farm it themselves. But it was on Yuan family land, cultivated by people who owed rent to the Yuan family, and whatever came off it went to Yuan family coffers. By dawn, it was in carts heading north into Yin Prefecture. At Yang City, the following evening, Yuan Li was in an excellent mood. The wine jars were piled in front of him, goods seized from Yin prefecture merchants passing through Fanyang, each one stamped with a Yin character, each one a small physical reminder that the trade route he had spent weeks quietly strangling was producing results. His strategist, Gua, too, sat beside him, wearing the composed expression of a man who is pleased with his own cleverness. The slicing meat strategy, Gua, too, said, "We cannot move openly against a royal prince without risking the emperor's displeasure. But we can cut away at his income, his grain, his merchants. Each cut alone is small. Together, they are fatal." Yuan Li drank and felt the thorn, the one that had been in him since the day this prince arrived in Yin prefecture and refused to be manageable, loosened slightly. He had been forced to absorb humiliation after humiliation. The Qingfeng Pass incident, the autumn hunt disaster, the assassination attempt that had failed and revealed itself, the public dressing down at Yin City's gate when the Prince of Yin turned out to be alive and Lu Fu had made him look foolish in front of his own army. Now he was the one doing the cutting. "The Prince of Yin killed my son-in-law publicly," he said. "The masks are off. Whatever can be used against him, covert, overt, it doesn't matter." A servant ran in. "My lord, all the Yuan family's rice in Yuanyang was harvested overnight." Yuan Li and Gua Tu looked at each other. The silence lasted several seconds. Who did this? At the boundary marker between Yuanyang County and Fanyang, Yuan Li arrived the next morning to find exactly what he had been told. Stripped fields on the Yuan family side, the rice gone, the stalks standing bare and cut close to the ground. Yuan Mu, the family descendant who managed the manor, was on his knees shaking. Too dark to see faces. When our people approached, they were attacked immediately. Several hundred manor workers were injured. By dawn, everything was gone. The Prince of Yin was in Yuanyang County 2 days ago with soldiers. Another family member offered. Guatu stood very still for a moment, doing the arithmetic of it. Retaliation for the burned fields, executed the same night with identical methodology, organized, fast, disciplined. The Prince of Yin had processed the situation and responded before Yuan Li had even received his own report. He thought to himself, "This prince is capable of being both a gentleman and a villain." That made him considerably more dangerous than someone who was only one of those things. Yuan Li's jaw tightened. He turned to a general. "Tonight, cross the border. Cut whatever rice is standing. What you can't cut, burn." "Yes, my lord." Then movement on the Yuanyang side of the boundary caught everyone's attention. The commander arrived at the marker without crossing it. He looked at Yuan Li across the line with an expression that contained approximately no diplomatic warmth whatsoever. Then he reached behind his back and produced a sickle. He turned to his soldiers. They produced sickles. Behind the soldiers, common people were arriving, organized, purposeful, spreading out along the boundary marker toward the fields on the Yin prefecture side that were still within easy reach of Yuan family retaliation. The commander began cutting rice along the boundary line. His soldiers began cutting. The common people spread out and began cutting. All the rice near the Fanyang border systematically harvested and moved north in a single coordinated operation. Then Zhao Su rode up on his horse and stopped at the marker. Yuan Li stared at him. "King of Yin, you are truly despicable. In matters of despicability, this king would have to bow to Prefect Yuan as his teacher." Zhao Su's voice was entirely even. Burning rice. Soldiers disguised as bandits robbing merchants. What comes next? Impersonating Northern D cavalry to attack Yin prefecture. "Careful of slander," Yuan Li said, his face darkening. "Without proof, this official will impeach you." A man in fine robes beside Yuan Li spoke up. Guatu, the strategist, applying the composed tone of someone who has decided that mockery is the available weapon. "King of Yin, no matter what, you are an imperial prince. Doing such base things, aren't you concerned about the royal family's reputation?" Zhao Su looked at him. Baseness depends on the person and the situation. To deal with a base person, one must be prepared to go lower. As for the royal family's reputation, failing to protect one's own subjects is what truly shames the royal family. He let that sit, then continued. "And these base methods must have been your idea. It takes a particularly base mind to produce them. Guitu's composed expression cracked. Yuan Li gritted his teeth. A sharp tongue, king of Yin. You win this round. However, his voice shifted to something he clearly expected to sting. Let's see how you solve the trade route problem. I've ordered the prefects of the other commanderies not to allow merchants to enter or leave Yin Prefecture. Your wine may be excellent, but I fear it won't find buyers. Unless, of course, Your Highness would like to sell it to the Yuan family at a favorable price. This king would pour it into the ground before letting your Yuan family profit from it, Zhao Su said. Yuan Li's satisfaction returned. The trade blockade was the real weapon, the thing he genuinely could not counter quickly. He watched Zhao Su's expression and read the frustration there. We'll see about that, Yuan Li said, and turned his horse south. Zhao Su watched him go. Then he went down into the fields and picked up a sickle. He was still cutting rice the next morning when the commander shielded his eyes and looked south down the road from Fanyang. Chunhu's cavalry came up the road at a canter and slowed when they saw the fields full of people. Soldiers, common people, and the Prince of Yin himself with a sickle and rolled sleeves, working a row that was indistinguishable from the rows being worked by the farmers around him. Chunhu dismounted and ran. Chunhu greets your highness. Zhao Su helped him up. You finally returned. Any trouble on the road? Chunhu looked surprised. How did your highness know? After entering Fanyang County, we weren't permitted through any of the cities. We had to travel by day and make camp in the open. Only today did we cross back into Yin Prefecture. Zhao Su and the commander exchanged a look. Yuan Li had moved against Chunhu's column too. 1,000 cavalry carrying an imperial edict, and the governor of Yin province had still blocked them out of petty spite. The commander told Chunhu about the burned fields and the rice harvest at the boundary. Chunhu listened, his brow creasing. Then it smoothed. Your highness, perhaps this will help. His majesty's rewards have arrived. He reached into his robes. Shangu Commandery is granted as your highness's fief, effective by imperial decree. And your highness is permitted to expand the prince's guards to 60,000 men. The commander's eyes went as wide as Chunhu had ever seen them. 60,000? The edict will arrive in Yin City within a few days. Zhao Su stood in the field with rice stalks around his boots and felt something shift in the back of his mind. Not the army expansion, which was significant, but the geography. Shangu Commandery. Flying Fox Pass. Jin Province to the west, the Yellow River beyond it running south through Si Province all the way to Ning Province, where Jinling sat at the river's edge. The Yuan family had blocked every road through Fanyang. But Fanyang was not the only road. He looked at the standing rice around him and felt the trade problem, the one he had been carrying since the boundary marker confrontation, dissolve. He said nothing about it yet. He picked up his sickle and went back to cutting. At the Yuan mansion in Fanyang, Yuan Li received the news of Shangu Commandery's transfer with the particular response of a man who has just had a piece of his body removed. His sword left its scabbard and hit the desk hard enough to leave a mark. Zhao Heng, how dare he treat the Yuan family this way? Guitu, who had spent years navigating Yuan Li's moods and had learned to be useful at exactly these moments, settled into his chair and fanned himself slowly. It's Zhang Kang's fault, he said. He had disliked Zhang Kang for years. The man had treated him as a secondary figure, something to be consulted when convenient and ignored otherwise. Now Zhang Kang was dead, and his death had handed the emperor a lever to use against the Yuan family. It was very satisfying to be able to say so. Yuan Li's anger was real, but his mind was working underneath it. Shangu Commandery, the poorest of the seven, barely functional after the northern D had swept through it during the autumn hunt, bordered to the west by Jin Province where western Liang was pressing hard. The emperor had given Prince Yin a damaged asset in a difficult position. He's taking over a mess, Guitu continued. Officials to pay, an army to expand, a devastated population to feed. Yin Prefecture barely sustains itself on trade income as it is. Shangu Commandery will stretch him thin. Yuan Li absorbed this and felt slightly better. And if the northern D come again from the north, while western Liang presses from the west, the Prince of Yin will be fighting on two fronts with limited resources. Guatu's fan moved in a steady rhythm. We do not need to destroy him ourselves. We simply ensure that the forces already pressing against him are as strong as possible, and collect the pieces afterward. He outlined the plan. Yuan family soldiers disguised as Prince Yan's men attacking Western Liang trade caravans, ensuring Western Liang's resentment fell on the Prince of Yin rather than the Yuan family. A personal trip to the Black Iron Royal Tent to resume trade with the Northern D and encourage another push south. Yuan Li listened and felt the frustration of the past weeks begin to organize itself into something more manageable. He could not openly destroy a royal prince without the emperor's sanction, but he could make the prince's position untenable through accumulated pressure until the prince made an error, exhausted his resources, or became a problem the emperor was willing to resolve. Your plan pleases this official greatly, Yuan Li said. Back in Yin City's council hall, the three of them were working through the implications of Shanggu Commandery. Lu Fu had been sighing intermittently since the news arrived. Shanggu Commandery was devastated by the autumn hunt. Refugees from Jin province have been arriving for months. The county towns are full of people who have nothing. Bandits everywhere, mostly former refugees who couldn't survive by honest means. And Jin province itself is contested. Western Liang has been pushing east for 2 years. Having it is better than not having it, the commander said, picking his ear with the composure of a man who is not paid to worry about provincial finances. You only think about soldiers. You never think about what feeds them. Enough, Zhao Su said pleasantly. Lu Fu is right that it's complicated. He's also right that silver will be needed. Neither of those things is news. He looked at the map on the table. The geography was the thing. Shanggu Commandery occupied the northeastern face of the Taihang Mountains. To its east, Jin Province, coal-rich, populous, currently contested between the Great Song's depleted imperial forces and Western Liang's advancing army. The pass through the Taihang Range was a single road, easily held if garrisoned properly. Beyond the mountains to the west was the Jin Province side, and beyond that the Yellow River running south. In the world he had come from, coal had powered everything. Iron smelting, heating, eventually steam. The mountains sitting to the west of Shanggu Commandery were sitting on top of something that most people in the Great Song had not yet understood the full value of. And the trade route, Flying Fox Pass to Jin Province, down the Yellow River through Si Province, through Yu Province, into Ning Province at the foot of Jinling. The Yuan family controlled the roads through Fanyang. They did not control the Yellow River. The silver problem will solve itself once the trade route opens, he said. Your job right now is to figure out how to take over Shanggu Commandery. I'll handle the silver. Lu Fu looked at him with the expression of a man who has heard this before and has decided to trust it while quietly maintaining his concerns. Yes, Your Highness. Fenger knocked and appeared at the door, whispered something, and withdrew. The Ma family's people have arrived, Zhao Su said. The commander and Lu Fu looked at each other. The Ma family? Lu Fu said. From Qin province? The same. Zhao Su stood. It appears Ma Han's father decided to come personally. Governor Ma Xian was not what Lu Fu had expected. He was a man in his 40s in a plain green scholar's robe, with the refined bearing of someone who had learned to project calm and the eyes of someone who was never not calculating. He had brought over 1,000 cavalry to collect his son and to look at Yin Prefecture, and neither of those things was the real reason he had come. In the reception hall, he bowed to Zhao Su with genuine courtesy. Many thanks, Your Highness, for saving my son's life. Ma Han, sitting off to the side, said, Father, your son almost didn't come back from this one. You scoundrel. Governor Ma Xian turned on him without missing a beat. If you weren't so impulsive, you would never have been captured by Northern D cavalry in the first place. If His Highness hadn't been governing Yin Prefecture, you wouldn't know how you died. This prince exerted little effort, Zhao Su said. His soldiers were simply in the right place. Governor Ma Xian turned back with the smile of a man who has finished the required demonstration of parental displeasure and is ready to talk business. The news of Yin Prefecture's victory had reached Qin province. Ma Han's letter had arrived early. The young man apparently had a talent for comfortable captivity and the letter had been reassuring enough that his father had waited to deal with a Western Liang incursion before making the trip. Then the news of Shanggu Commandery came, and Governor Ma Xian had decided a personal visit was necessary. Shanggu Commandery bordered Jin Province. Jin Province was where the Ma family's army was currently being pressed backward by Western Liang's Iron Pagoda heavy cavalry. The Yuan family had always blocked Ma family influence from extending into Yin Province. If the Prince of Yin was now holding Shanggu Commandery, this humble official has heard many rumors about the armor worn by Your Highness's soldiers, Governor Ma Xian said, with the conversational ease of a man raising a topic he has been planning to raise for 3 weeks. Impervious to swords and spears, they say. Is it true? Zhao Su looked at him. A man of this caliber did not ask questions for small talk. He was already where he wanted the conversation to go. Su Lai, bring a set of plate armor. Mahan perked up immediately. Father, let your son try it. Governor Ma Xian almost said yes before catching himself. That depends entirely on His Highness's wishes. You're welcome to try it, Zhao Su said. That's why I'm having it brought. In the courtyard, Mahan put on the plate armor and had his father's cavalry do their worst. Full force sword strokes, arrows at close range, everything that had been tried on Lu Chong and Su Lai at Beida camp, reproduced for an audience of one very attentive governor. Governor Ma Xian watched with the focused attention of a military man seeing something he has been told about and is now verifying personally. When the arrows rang off the plate and fell without penetrating, his expression went through several stages before settling on something that looked like a man revising a significant estimate. He was quiet for a long time afterward. In the Ma family's battles against Western Liang's Iron Pagoda cavalry, heavy armored horsemen that had been breaking song formations for 2 years, the margin had consistently been unfavorable. Not impossible, but costly. His own armor was good. It was not this. Your Highness. He turned from the courtyard test. Our Ma family, like Your Highness, defends foreign enemies for the great song. I hope Your Highness might be able to produce a batch of this armor for us. Zhao Su let the right amount of silence pass, enough to signal that this was not a simple request, not enough to suggest he was going to refuse. The craftsmanship required is considerable, he said slowly. And the materials. Your Highness, please rest assured. The Ma family would never treat Your Highness the way the Yuan family has. Governor Ma Xian leaned forward slightly. My son can remain in Yin City as long as Your Highness requires. Ma Han, who was still wearing the armor and had not been asked, nodded enthusiastically. Zhao Su looked at the young man, genuinely willing, apparently, to become a hostage for the sake of his father's armor deal, and felt the negotiation had reached its natural resolution. That won't be necessary, he said. Since Governor Ma is this sincere, this king will set a precedent. The armor for your common soldiers will be somewhat below the quality of what young Master Ma is wearing. For your generals, the same standard. Governor Ma Xian did the tactical calculation immediately. How much below for the soldiers? At most, an arrow might penetrate to this depth. Zhao Su held up his little finger and indicated his fingernail. The governor breathed out. At that depth, a scratch, not a wound. Soldiers would survive. They wouldn't even lose fighting effectiveness in most cases. And the generals in full plate would be effectively invulnerable to the Iron Pagoda's standard weapons. It's settled, he said, and meant it. The banquet lasted an hour, and Governor Ma Xian and his son drank themselves contentedly into a state that required assistance reaching the inn. After they had been seen out, Lu Fu sat back and said, Yuan Li spent weeks building a blockade, and the Prince of Yin dissolved it in an afternoon. It cost us armor, the commander said, still not entirely at peace with this. It cost us slightly inferior armor at a profit margin that more than covers the production cost, Lu Fu said. And it bought us a trade route through Jin Province that the Yuan family cannot touch. When the Ordnance Department's next project comes out, you'll care much less about the armor, Zhao Su said. The commander's expression shifted immediately into the one he wore when Zhao Su implied something was coming and refused to specify what. Your Highness. When it's ready, Zhao Su said. The commander suffered in silence. Zhao Su looked at the map on the wall. Yin Prefecture, Shanggu Commandery, Jin Province, the Yellow River running south. The trade route was open. The Ma family was on the same boat, at least temporarily. The armor deal would pay for itself and produce an alliance of mutual self-interest that neither side needed to trust the other to maintain. In the world he had come from, great powers had sold weapons to smaller nations for exactly this reason. Not loyalty, but shared interest, which was more durable than loyalty anyway. He would build his navy eventually. Ships were expensive, but the ocean was the only route that no powerful family could blockade. For now, the Yellow River would do. The next morning, Zhao Su saw the Ma family off at the West City Gate. Governor Ma Xian sat his horse with the satisfied expression of a man who came to collect his son and is leaving with considerably more than he arrived with. After a while, this humble official will send someone to collect the goods, he said, cupping his hands. 10,000 sets of scale armor and 8,000 sets of plate armor. Within a month, Zhao Su said. Governor Ma Xian nodded with the weight of a man who has just confirmed a very large purchase and is pleased about it. Ma Han looked back at Yin City with something that was not quite reluctance, but was in that direction. Thank you, Your Highness, for everything. When a Yin County merchant house passes through your territory, look after them, Zhao Su said pleasantly. That's natural. Ma Han patted his chest. Leave it to me. Governor Ma Xian gave a final nod and rode west. Zhao Su watched them until the dust settled on the road, then turned back toward the city. Behind him, the father and son rode in silence for a while. Father, Ma Han said eventually, looking back over his shoulder at the walls of Yin City, from everything I saw and heard in Yin Prefecture, this Prince of Yin is not a simple man. Governor Ma Xian glanced at his son with the expression of a father who is weighing whether to explain something or simply agree. He is not, he said, but it doesn't matter. The throne will never belong to him. No emperor of the Great Song will tolerate a prince who holds military power without the backing of the powerful families. The 8 great clans act in unison on this. Whoever sits on the throne must have that blood. Prince Yan's mother came from nothing. His court allies are few. His future ends in Yin Province. Ma Han absorbed this. He thought of the soldiers in silver armor, the tunnels under the villages, the 6 men who had ridden into a northern D column in disguise and walked out with the great king between them. He said nothing more, but he looked back at Yin City one more time before the road turned. Your Highness, the petals have arrived. In the central courtyard of the prince's manor, Zhao Su and Luaner stood before the distiller that had been set up that morning. Fenger came swaying across the courtyard, followed by 2 servants carrying baskets of jasmine petals. The one Zhao Su had asked her to source months ago, back when the autumn hunt was still a future threat and every day had been preparation for the siege. She had not forgotten. She rarely forgot anything she'd been asked to do, which was why she remained the most functionally reliable person in the manor despite also being the most opinionated. The ice business had run through summer and wound down when the season turned, its staff absorbed into the trading company to help Dong and with the wine operation in the capital. The Allison contracts were stable. The armor deal with the Ma family was being processed. Shanggu Commandery's administration was being organized. The prince's manor needed new revenue, and specifically the kind that didn't depend on roads through Fanyang. Pour the petals in, Zhao Su said. Luaner watched the jasmine go into the distiller with open curiosity. Your Highness, is this for brewing? Not alcohol, Fenger said confidently, with the authority of someone who is guessing but would prefer not to appear to be guessing. Steamed petals taste good. You're both wrong. Essential oils, Zhao Su said. He had Luaner add water in a 4-to-1 ratio and set the craftsman to heating it. The process was the most basic distillation. Heat the mixture, collect the steam, condense it, and the oil separates naturally from the water because it doesn't dissolve. Then he leaned over and sniffed Luaner. Then Feng. Both of them giggled, uncertain whether this was a game. What is your Highness smelling? Fenger's eyes had gone soft and bright. The fumigation scent, Zhao Su said. It's already faded. Before perfume existed, women in this era relied on burning aromatic materials to scent themselves. effective at close range for a short time, cumbersome, not portable, dissipating within an hour or two. What he was building would be different. Essential oil dissolved in strong alcohol, the alcohol carrying the scent outward as it evaporated. Hours of fragrance from a single application, contained in a small bottle that could fit in a sleeve. Half an hour passed in conversation by the distiller. When the steam slowed, Zhao Su had the craftsman remove the collection jar. He lifted the lid. A rich jasmine fragrance came out of the jar in a wave, dense and warm, considerably more concentrated than anything fumigation produced. Luana pressed her hand to her chest. Fenger inhaled and closed her eyes briefly. Zhao Su took a small porcelain bottle, filled it with strong alcohol, added 10 drops of the oil, and handed it to Fenger. "Shake it." Fenger looked at the bottle, looked at Luana, and accepted it with the resigned expression of someone who has been designated the capable general and is finding the role has unexpected physical demands. A quarter hour of shaking. Fenger, sweating, handed it to Luana. Another quarter hour. Then Zhao Su took it, dipped a goose feather, and flicked droplets onto both of them. The fragrance came immediately, not faint, not distant, but present and warm and lasting, sitting on the skin rather than drifting in from somewhere nearby. Fenger made a sound of genuine surprise. Luana was quieter about it, but her face said everything. "The trading company will have a new commodity," she said softly. "The problem," Zhao Su said, "is that unlike wine which sells itself in the street, this needs to move through the right channels first. It needs to be seen on the right women before it reaches everyone else." Fenger thought about it for approximately 3 seconds. "Tianxiang brothel." Zhao Su looked at her. "The women there compete in everything, clothes, fragrance, who draws more attention. If they adopt it, their clients will want it for their wives and concubines at home. And those women won't want to be outdone." She paused. "Also, Tianxiang brothel has branches across the Great Song." Zhao Su stood up. She was right. Men who could afford Tianxiang brothel had households full of women who competed for their favor. If the fragrance became the Tianxiang standard, it would enter every wealthy household in the Great Song within a season. And there was one more channel. Chun, who had mentioned that his mother was now consort me in the palace. A palace endorsement, even an indirect one, was worth more than any amount of street demonstration. He straightened his robes and headed toward Tianxiang brothel. Su Yi's boudoir was exactly as he remembered, perfumed, warm, decorated with the particular taste of a woman who has opinions about everything and the means to act on them. She was reclining in a chair when he came in, and she looked at him with eyes that contained joy and a carefully maintained thread of resentment, and something that was trying to be playful about both. "It's rare for your highness to remember this servant." Zhao Su sat down across from her. "This prince has something to show you," he said. He produced the small porcelain bottle and set it on the table between them. Sui looked at it. "What is it?" "Open it." She reached forward and uncorked the bottle, and the jasmine came out. Concentrated, clean, nothing like the fumigation smoke that was the current standard for fragrance in this world. Her expression changed. She was a woman who had made her living, in part, by being more appealing than other women, and she understood immediately and precisely what this was and what it meant and why he was sitting across from her showing it to her rather than selling it quietly somewhere else. She looked at him with new consideration. "You want to sell this through the brothel?" "I want to introduce it through the brothel," Zhao Su said. "There's a difference." Su Yi picked up the bottle and held it carefully. "The difference being that I and my sisters try it first, and then everyone who matters sees us wearing it, and then everyone who matters wants it." "Yes." She was quiet for a moment. Then she turned the bottle in her fingers and looked at him with the expression of a woman who is about to agree to something and wants to be certain the terms are clear before she does. "And what does Tianxiang brothel receive in return?" Zhao Su smiled. The negotiation had begun. Zhao Su coughed once, lightly, which accomplished nothing in terms of concealing his embarrassment, but at least gave him a moment to organize his thoughts. Su Yi watched him with the particular patience of a woman who has decided to let someone be uncomfortable for a measured amount of time. During the battle, the prince's guards had surrounded Tianxiang brothel, not to protect it, as the commander had assumed with his knowing smile, but to ensure it couldn't act against him at a critical moment. That was a statement about trust, or the lack of it. And then, when news of his death had spread through Yin City, he had apparently come to the prince's manor and been turned away at the gate because the circumstances required the performance to be maintained. Fenger had been the one to turn her away. He had, reportedly, been very sad about it. "Your Highness has truly made this humble one suffer," He said, shooting him a glance that managed to be both reproachful and completely composed at the same time. This prince never expected Miss Su to fall ill from sadness over it, Zhao Su said carefully. But what virtues and abilities does this prince possess to inspire such devotion? Xiao Huan, sitting nearby with her embroidery, spoke up in her clear voice. "Does your Highness still remember saving a dying girl 8 years ago?" Zhao Su reached back through the memories that had come with this life. A winter road, a young girl lying at the side of it. The ninth prince, 11 years old, giving her a bowl of hot porridge. He looked at Su's face more carefully. Yes, there was something there, the line of the jaw, something around the eyes, that matched the blurred memory of that child. "You are her." "Yes." Su's expression settled into something quieter than her usual manner. The practice performance set aside for a moment, something more honest underneath it. "I have never forgotten your Highness's kindness. After arriving in Yin Prefecture, I acted to help where I could." "This truly is a coincidence," Zhao Su said. He paused. "But afterward, your background, Tianxiang Brothel's true nature. That cannot be said." The practiced warmth returned, but gently. "Not yet. Your Highness only needs to know that this humble one will not harm you. The rest, your Highness will understand at the appropriate time." Zhao Su looked at her for a moment. The honest answer was that this was exactly the kind of incomplete information that had kept him maintaining the guard around the brothel in the first place. But he also understood that some things took time to reveal themselves, and that a woman who had spent 8 years quietly providing assistance without asking for recognition was at minimum demonstrating a pattern worth acknowledging. He reached into his robe and set the small porcelain bottle on the table between them. "This prince also came for a reason," he said. He looked at the bottle. "What is it?" "Perfume." He dipped the goose feather and flicked a few drops toward her. The fragrance arrived immediately. Not faint, not distant, but present and warm and distinctly different from anything the fumigation brazier in the corner of her boudoir could produce. He went still. Xiao Huan's embroidery stopped. Both of them inhaled at the same time, involuntarily, the way people inhale when something unexpected and pleasant reaches them. "This is sprinkled on the skin and clothes," Zhao Su said. "The scent lasts 4 to 6 hours, 100 times stronger than fumigation, and it travels with the person rather than sitting in a room." Who had grown up in Tianxiang Brothel and had spent her entire adult life navigating a world where appearance and presentation were professional tools, understood the implications of this before he finished the sentence. She also understood why he was sitting in her boudoir, showing it to her rather than selling it quietly elsewhere. "Your Highness truly never comes without a purpose," she said. There was resentment in it. She had briefly allowed herself to be pleased that he had remembered to visit her, and now she was recalibrating. But underneath the resentment was something that was also pleased because he was here, and he had brought something genuinely remarkable, and being the first person in Yin City, possibly in the Great Song, to where it was not nothing. "All right," she said. "This humble one will help your Highness. If the sisters here take to it, and they will, I will send it to Tianxiang brothels across the Great Song." "Thank you, Miss Su," Zhao Su said, and stood to leave. He went to the window and watched him cross the street toward the trading firm on the far side of Golden Scale Pond. "I refuse to believe," she said quietly, to no one in particular, "that I cannot warm this stone." Xiao Huan looked at her with the expression of someone who has been having the same unspoken conversation for a very long time and has run out of new things to contribute to it. Then there was a knock at the door, then several more, overlapping. A group of Tianxiang brothel women walked in without waiting for an answer. "Sister Su, what is that scent?" It smells so good. Su turned from the window. She picked up the bottle, remembered Zhao Su's instructions, and began to explain. When she demonstrated, mimicking exactly what he had done with the goose feather, the room erupted. Sister, give it to me. Why should it go to you? Give it to me. I have the worst body odor of all of us. If anyone needs this, it's me. Give it to me. Su watched the women argue with red faces and felt, for the first time since the assassination rumors and the gates closed and the soldiers in the courtyard, something that was unmistakably amusement. She also felt something else, the particular awareness of a woman who has just understood that the man who gave her this gift was not only practical, but was also, whether he meant to be or not, making her feel seen. She filed this away and said nothing about it. At the Yin province trading firm, the merchants had been waiting. They pressed around Zhao Su the moment he stepped through the door, not with complaint, but with the anxious attention of people whose livelihood has been under threat and who have been told the person in front of them has a solution. Yang Cheng came down from upstairs looking considerably more worn than the last time Zhao Su had seen him. The trade blockade had redirected every frustrated merchant's complaints through Yang Cheng's office, and Yang Cheng had absorbed them with the expression of a man who had decided that this, too, was part of the service. You've worked hard, Zhao Su said, putting a hand on Yang Cheng's shoulder. Compared to the fallen soldiers, Yang Cheng stopped himself. His eyes had something in them that hadn't been there before the siege. It's nothing. Zhao Su looked at the merchants gathered around him, the ones who had stayed, who had not run south when the Northern D arrived, who had committed their capital to this operation and were now watching Yuan Li's blocking maneuver eat at their margins. Today this prince will give you a straight answer, he said. Fanyang is no longer available, but the Ma family has agreed to open the western route through Jin province and Si province. The prince's manor will work with the Ma family to maintain it. The relief that moved through the room was physical. One merchant's eyes went wet. Several exhaled audibly. All of them had put everything they had into this operation, and they had just been told the door was open again. Thank you, Your Highness. This king also owes you something, Zhao Su said. The route was cut because of the conflict between this prince and the Yuan family. You suffered collateral damage. So the prince's manor has a new product, and you have first priority in acquiring it. He produced the perfume. These were men who visited places of entertainment regularly, who understood the economy of beauty and fragrance and status signaling in the world they operated in. He watched them try it and watched them do the arithmetic, a product that had never existed before, that every woman who could afford it would want, that had no competition in any market in the Great Song. The room filled with fragrance and with the particular energy of merchants who have just recognized something that is going to make them considerable sums of money. Groundbreaking. It'll drive women wild. I never expected a misfortune to turn into such a benefit. Yang Cheng, upstairs, was showering Zhao Su with flattery of the variety that would have embarrassed a lesser man. Zhao Su sat by the window with his tea and looked at the street outside. The expert who taught Your Highness these things must be a truly remarkable figure, Yang Cheng said. Zhao Su chuckled. He had used the expert story from the beginning, some mysterious advisor whose knowledge he was drawing on, and it had served him well enough that he saw no reason to change it. This is a small thing, he said. There will be many more things in the future that will make your jaw drop. Yang Cheng cupped his hands, his earlier haggardness entirely replaced by the bright energy of a man who has just remembered why he chose this work. A servant came up from the floor below. Your Highness, the imperial edict has arrived. Steward Tong San had aged comfortably in the time since his last visit to Yin Prefecture, assisted by the silver he had received on that occasion. He beamed at Zhao Su with the warmth of a man visiting a reliable source of good things. Your Highness. The greeting contained an entire relationship's worth of shared understanding. Eunuch Tong, you've made the trip again, Zhao Su said, with equal warmth and equal subtext. The imperial edict was produced. Tong San, in a display of closeness that technically violated protocol, simply handed it to Zhao Su directly rather than proclaiming it formally. Both of them appear to find this a perfectly natural arrangement. Fenger brought the token of appreciation. Tong San's eyes moved to the chests with the practiced appreciation of a man who can assess value at a glance. More than last time. Since your highness is so kind, Tong San said, allowing himself to be persuaded in approximately 3 seconds. Zhao Su unrolled the edict and confirmed what Chunhu had reported. Shanggu Commandery, 60,000 soldiers authorized. He handed it to the commander and Lu Fu, who received it with expressions that made clear they had been waiting for this moment since the news arrived. Then Tong San produced a letter from his robes. Consort Mi asked this humble servant to deliver this. Zhao Su took it. The title still carried a slight strangeness. The woman had been a noble lady when he came to Yin Prefecture, and the promotion had happened overnight as a signal of imperial approval for his victory. He was glad for her, for the practical protection it offered in palace politics. He was also aware of what it meant, that she had been drawn into the court's factional game, whether either of them had sought it. The letter expressed longing. It urged diligence. Near the end, it mentioned the Empress and the Crown Prince. He put away. He had no particular attachment to the Crown Prince's faction or any other. But the prince without a powerful maternal family needed to work with what was available. The Empress wanted her son's restoration. The Crown Prince wanted allies. If their interests and his could run parallel for a time, he would let them run parallel. He looked at Tong San, who was standing nearby in the particular posture of a man who is about to leave and hoping something additional might appear before he does. Zhao Su noticed. He had another purpose for Tong San's visit. In the palace, eunuchs and palace maids burned incense constantly. It was practically a professional requirement, as anyone whose personal scent was unwelcome while serving imperial concubines found their position immediately endangered. They were, as a group, the most fragrance-conscious population in the Great Song, and they moved through every level of the palace, every chamber, every concubine's quarters, every study and garden and antechamber where imperial opinions were formed. Stay one more day, eunuch, Zhao Su said. This prince has something to give you in the morning. Tong San's eyes showed interest he was trying not to display too obviously. That night, Fenger organized the central courtyard through the dark hours, producing the first significant batch of perfume. The next morning, Zhao Su handed Tong San 3 large boxes and 1 small one. What is in here, your highness? Tong San opened the small box and found 5 porcelain bottles inside. Perfume, Zhao Su explained. The application, the duration, the effect. Tong San uncorked one, sprinkled it on his sleeve, and went very still as the fragrance arrived. Then he inhaled in a way that suggested he was attempting to draw the entire bottle into his lungs through one breath. Oh, your highness. He made a gesture that produced a layer of goosebumps on Zhao Su's arms. I'll be fragrant wherever I go from now on. As long as eunuch likes it. Zhao Su indicated the larger boxes. These are for Imperial Father, for Chief Steward Liang, and for Consort Mi. Leave it to this humble servant. Tong San had the warm, certain expression of a man who has just confirmed that this trip was worth making. At the south gate, Zhao Su watched him go. The perfume would reach the palace. Tong San would be enthusiastic about it. The concubines and palace maids would try it. The emperor's household would carry it. And from there, outward, through the court, through the families of officials, through every wealthy household in the Great Song that paid attention to what the palace wore. He had done what he could to introduce it. The rest would happen on its own. Now, Shanggu Commandery. Shanggu City had seen better decades. The Northern D's autumn hunt had passed through the commandery like water through a sieve, taking what it found and leaving the rest broken. On the road from Yin Prefecture, Zhao Su's column passed village after village of burned walls and empty lanes, the characteristic desolation of a countryside that had been plundered systematically for years without anyone having the capacity to stop it. These were burned during the autumn hunt, the commander said, pointing at a blackened earthen wall. The scorch marks were still visible. Someone had put fire to this deliberately, not carelessly. Look ahead. Lu Fu's voice had changed register. In the ditch beside the road, hundreds of bodies left where they had fallen. Not recently dead. The decay had done considerable work. Male and female, old and young, the composition of a village that had been emptied all at once. Lu Fu turned away and was ill. The commander's fist closed. He said something brief and unprintable about the northern D, and then said nothing else. The soldiers passing the ditch saw it and processed it in silence. Many of them had families in Yin Prefecture's villages, had grown up in places that looked like this before the prince's guards changed the equation. The sight of what they had been fighting against, rendered in concrete terms by the side of a road, settled into them in a way that no speech or decree could produce. The column continued. More bodies as the morning went on. More burned structures. At noon, the first living people appeared, a group in rags, stripping bark from roadside trees with the focused patience of people who have moved past hunger into the mechanical stage beyond it. Their eyes were flat until a soldier told them whose army this was. Then something moved across the closest man's face, slow, like light arriving from a very long distance. He dropped the bark he was holding. "Prince Yen is here." His voice came out louder than he probably intended, cracking slightly. "Shanggu Commandery is Prince Yan's fief. Did you hear?" The others turned. Then they moved. They came onto the road, asking the same question in different forms and receiving the same answer. And one by one the numbness gave way to something that for most of them had not been available in a very long time. Zhao Su stopped in front of them. "From now on you are this king's subjects. Go back and wait. Land will be allotted." Some of them cried. He ordered the commander to distribute rations from the supply carts and rode on. The pattern repeated throughout the afternoon. Suffering common people. Fortified village walls in the distance behind, which the powerful families were still conducting their lives of feasting and entertainment, as though the countryside around them was not filled with people who had eaten bark for breakfast. The next day, they reached Shanggu City. Gao Yuan was waiting at the road with his officials in a row. He had the practiced expression of a man who has decided that his best available strategy is to appear cooperative while being the opposite, and had been wearing this expression so long it had developed deep grooves. "Prefect Gao Yuan of Shanggu Commandery greets your highness." Lu Fu produced the imperial edict and read it in front of the assembled officials with the delivery of a man who has been waiting to do this for some time. Gao Yuan received it with the controlled expression of a man swallowing something he finds unpleasant. "Welcome, your highness. Please enter." Inside the government office, Zhao Su sat in the main seat and looked at Gao Yuan and his officials standing below. Gao Yuan, first order, issue decrees to all counties immediately. Gather the displaced common people of Shanggu Commandery, allot them land, allow them to begin recovering, and set the tax at 1/10. Gao Yuan's smile held its shape. "Your Highness, Shanggu Commandery fears there is no vacant land for these common people." This was technically true in the sense that all the land that had been abandoned when the common people died or fled had been quietly absorbed by the powerful families in the aftermath. Gao Yuan was informing Zhao Su of this fact, as though it were a regrettable administrative reality rather than a theft in progress. Zhao Su's expression did not change. Lu Fu, effective immediately, conduct a thorough investigation of all landholdings in Shanggu Commandery. Anyone found to have illegally seized property or encroached upon land through force or fraud is to be severely punished without exception. The faces of the officials changed color in a progression, starting with the ones who had the most to hide. Gao Yuan's smile remained in place through sheer force of will. "Your Highness, investigating landholdings is a considerable undertaking. The officials of the commandery are still assessing losses from a Northern D autumn hunt and are unavailable for additional. Are you teaching this king how to govern?" Zhao Su's voice went flat. "This king's orders are not for you to question. They are for you to execute." Gao Yuan felt the temperature of the room change and said, more quietly, "Yes." That night, in the Gao family manor, with the musicians playing for an audience that could not hear them and the food going cold on the tables, the powerful families of Shanggu Commandery sat around Gao Yuan and tried to determine what to do. Gao Yuan burned Yuan Li's letter over a candle and let them watch the ash. "Feign submission," he said. "Wait for an opportunity. then act. Everyone nodded. It was the only available move, and they all knew it. What none of them knew was that in a separate courtyard in the west of the city, Zhao Su was sitting with Lu Fu and the commander by candlelight and saying, "Let them try. I'm not afraid of rebellion. I'm only afraid they won't give me a reason." Lu Fu sighed and then nodded, because he was right. The next morning, Gao Yuan arrived at the government office early. He knelt before Zhao Su had fully taken his seat. "Your Highness, this humble official failed to discipline his clan. After your order to investigate land holdings yesterday, this humble official discovered that family members had seized considerable land in the chaos following the autumn hunt. This humble official has compiled the full account and imprisoned those responsible." He raised an account book. The other officials raised their own, one by one. Zhao Su took the books and reviewed them. The quantities listed were not trivial. Substantial land returns, documented and organized, apparently compiled overnight. He looked at Lu Fu. Lu Fu looked at him. Since Prefect Gao has dealt with the matter himself, Zhao Su said, "This matter is overlooked. This prince hopes the prefect will cooperate sincerely with royal tutor Lu going forward to restore Shanggu Commandery's prosperity." "Yes, Your Highness." Gao Yuan stood with tears on his face. Zhao Su noted the tears and said nothing about them. Zhang Kong had knelt and wept and performed repentance with similar conviction. The lesson was filed. He spent the morning reviewing the commandery's household records, 380,000 households at the last census a decade ago. After years of northern derating and the displacement that followed, even half of that was optimistic. At noon, he left Shanggu City as planned. The commander took 4,000 soldiers west to Flying Fox Pass, the gate through the Taiyang Mountains into Jin Province and the Yellow River beyond. The trade route's security started there. Zhao Su returned to Yin City under escort of 1,000. He had a cannon to build. Wang Ying was covered in clay when Zhao Su arrived at the Ordnance Department. He had been up since the rooster crow. His wife had warm porridge and seen him off, and his son Wang Chong had attached himself to the departing figure at the doorway until Wang Ying gave up resisting and brought him along. The father had spent the years of his poverty in patched clothes and had spent the years since the Yin Prince's appreciation in a courtyard house in Yin City. And he treated both stages of his life with the same equanimity that made him useful to have around when complicated things needed to be built. The clay cannon on the stand in front of him was 1.8 meters long, muzzle caliber 110 millimeters, the proportions matching the blueprints Zhao Su had provided 2 days ago. The surface was still rough and needed work, but the basic form was there. Beside it, other artisans were working on smaller pieces. Field cannon, 75 millimeters, shorter barrel, thinner walls, designed to be moved rather than fixed. "Not bad," Zhao Su said. 2 days, and it's already taking shape." Wang Chong looked up from where he was working and made the observation that this was essentially just the clay mold technique applied to something larger, which was correct and also exactly the point. The iron mold casting method had been invented by a Qing dynasty official who had watched Western cannon tear through Chinese defenses in the Opium War and decided to close the gap through manufacturing innovation. The Qing court had not taken it seriously because the cannons produced were cast iron rather than steel and prone to failure under repeated firing. Zhao Su's ordnance department had been producing steel for months. The iron mold casting method plus steel was a different proposition entirely. Cheap enough to manufacture at scale, strong enough not to explode at the moment of firing. He pulled Wang Chong aside. "One more thing," he said quietly, and described it. Wang Chong's expression went from attentive to delighted. "Can it really work that way?" "It can, but it's dangerous." Zhao Su looked at him directly. "Do you understand what I'm asking?" Wang Chong patted his chest with the confidence of a 17-year-old. "Your Highness, leave it to me." At Yin Pass, the scouts came back at the wrong angle. The patrol returned short. The soldiers who had gone out in the evening light did not return. Their replacements found the bodies by the road. Heads taken, the Northern D custom when they wanted the death to be visible rather than quiet. MOD was on the wall before the alarm bells finished ringing. The army below the city was not an autumn hunt raiding force. It was not the Black Iron Royal Tens cavalry deploying for another seasonal sweep. The numbers visible in the fading light were something different, the kind of mobilization that the North had not shown since Ningjin, when 300,000 Song soldiers had been broken in a single campaign. MOU was still at Yin Pass. His dismissal papers had arrived. He had been changing into civilian clothes, and then the alarm had sounded. He stood beside his father and looked at the same army and understood the same thing. "You need to go to Yin Prefecture," MOD said, without looking at him. "There is nothing here for you now." The deputy general on MOD's right, Xiao, a man of the Xiao family, one of the 8 great clans, whose presence at Yin Pass was entirely explained by his connections and who had never given MOU a reason to respect him, was sweating visibly. "It's the Yin King's fault," he said. "The Northern D always repay grievances. Capturing Kutu brought this on us. It's all the Yin King's fault. What does this have to do with the Prince of Yin?" MOU's voice was sharp. "You've been dismissed," Xiao said, pivoting to something more personally satisfying. "You have no standing in military affairs here. Why haven't you left?" Deputy General Xiao. MOD's voice had no volume and no warmth. Then to MOU, with the particular combination of tenderness and command that only exists between a father and a soldier's son. "Why are you still here? Son will not leave while there is an enemy at the gate." An arrow came over the wall, not aimed, but carrying a message. The parchment at its tip was the Khan's ultimatum: 10 days to return Kutu. Otherwise, Yin Pass falls and Yin Province burns. MOD read it aloud. Xiao started composing the emergency dispatch to Jinling in his head before MOD had finished. MOU looked at his father's face and read what was there: 20 years of wanting to push the Northern D back, of watching the Song Empire concede ground season after season, of being the man holding the door closed while the court argued about who should be holding it. The defeat at Ningjin had broken something in Great Song's military confidence that had never properly healed. MOD had spent his career in the gap that left, and now the Khan was at the gate with 100,000 cavalry and a 10-day ultimatum. And the man most responsible for any realistic chance of a different outcome was 500 li south in a borderland prefecture that the court had barely noticed until 3 months ago. "Father," MOU said. "Son is leaving." MOD gripped his shoulder once, heavy brief, and said nothing. MOU went to change his clothes. In Chengdu Ward, Zhao Su was drawing on the ground. The ward had been purchased after the battle. The fire set during the trap had damaged it badly enough that buying the whole thing made more sense than compensating individual households. The residents had been paid well. Now the cleared space was being planned. He was explaining to Zhou Rong. The Ministry of Works official Lu Fu had assigned to him a careful and technically minded man who had spent his time in the position actually studying construction, how to divide the ward and what to build where. Workshops for Allison, wine production, perfume, larger buildings, practical roof lines, good drainage. Zhou Rong was noting everything, raising a practical concern about the mortar holding the blue bricks together in wet conditions. Zhao Su almost said the word cement before stopping himself. He hit his own head once. How did I forget this? He took Zhou Rong to the ordnance department. Wang Ying, still clay-covered, looked up from the cannon work. Zhao Su pointed at the limestone pile in the corner of the yard. Cement, quicklime plus clay plus water, fired at the right temperature, ground fine, was a Roman invention and a 19th century industrial product, and also something he could produce right now with what the ordnance department already had. He explained the ratios and the firing process. Wang Ying listened with his head tilted slightly, the expression of a man who is receiving information and checking it against everything he already knows. This is just the lime-burning process adjusted for finer grinding, Wang Ying said. Yes, except the ratio needs to be exact. Too much lime, and it cracks. Too much clay, and it doesn't set. Wang Ying nodded slowly. I can test the ratios. Zhou Rong looked at the limestone, at Wang Ying, at Zhao Su. If this works, he started. It works, Zhao Su said. He left Wang Ying with the specifications and walked back toward the prince's manor. At the entrance, Fenger appeared. Your Highness, there's someone named MOU outside asking for you. He says he's General MOD's son. He came alone. Zhao Su stopped. MOU. Alone. Without armor. Not leading troops. He went to the door. MOU was standing in the street in ordinary clothes that did not quite fit the posture of the man inside them. A soldier in civilian dress, the military bearing not fully suppressed by the change of fabric. Commandant MO. Your Highness. MOU cupped his hands. I have been dismissed from office. I am now a commoner. He said it evenly, without visible bitterness. My father knows that in all of Yin province, Your Highness is the only one truly fighting the Northern D. He sent me to ask whether Your Highness might take me in. Zhao Su looked at him. MOD had sent his son to Yin Prefecture once before, technically in defiance of an imperial decree, to help at a critical moment. His son had been dismissed as the designated scapegoat for that decision. And now MOD was sending that same son back, not as a military commander, but as a private individual asking to serve, which was as clear a signal as a general operating under imperial constraints could send about where he thought the future was pointing. This prince is not an unrighteous man, Zhao Su said. Without your help in Wuan County, the war would not have ended as it did. He paused. The emperor has authorized 60,000 soldiers. This prince needs generals to train them. If Commandant MO is willing, there's a place here. MOU's expression broke slightly at the edges, the control giving way to something that was both relief and something older and more personal. MOU will serve Your Highness with complete loyalty. Zhao Su nodded and held the door open. Come in. There's a great deal of work to do. At noon in the prince's manor pavilion, the wine was poured and the dishes were set, and Zhao Su listened to MOU describe what he had left behind at Yin Pass. The Northern D army was at the gate. Hundreds of thousands of cavalry, visible from the wall. The largest Northern D mobilization since Ningjin. They're demanding coup back, MOU said. 10 days, or they break through. Zhao Su was quiet for a moment. One prisoner. The Khan had moved the forces of 3 royal tents south and issued a formal ultimatum over one prisoner. Muller Hongjin always repays grievances, MOU said. This is just the opening. Your Highness needs to be careful. As long as Yin Pass holds, this king can manage, Zhao Su said. He drank and looked at the courtyard. Your father has held it for 20 years against everything the Northern D have sent. He'll hold it now. MOU's face shifted into something that contained both pride and worry in equal measure. As long as my father is there, yes. But there are people in the capital eyeing that post constantly. They treat Yin Pass as a piece to move in court politics. They don't understand that if it falls, the entire song is open. He stopped himself. Let's not talk about it. Since I've followed Your Highness, I follow Your Highness's lead. That's the end of it. Zhao Su nodded. The court was beyond his reach from Yin Prefecture, and he had no reliable allies there yet beyond the first prince's opportunistic support and his mother's careful navigation of the empress's interest. He could not protect MOD's position from 1,000 li away. What he could do was make Yin Prefecture strong enough that when the moment came, and it would come, he had something real to offer. Focus on the work here, he said. If Yin Pass ever falls in the future, this king will not stand aside. MOU raised his cup. Before they had finished the exchange, the commander arrived, saw MOU, exclaimed in surprise, and received the explanation of MOU's situation with the expression of a man who has just learned something that offends him deeply on principle. Commandant MO contributed to the defeat of the Northern D. How dare they strip his rank for it? Court politics, Zhao Su said. It's done. From now on, you and Commandant MO jointly command the prince's guards. The commander straightened immediately. This is not right. General Mo's family reputation alone puts him above me. This humble general would rather step aside and support him. MOU shook his head. General Chang's practical battlefield experience is not something I have yet. My father says the same. I came here to serve under the general, not above him. The commander pushed back. MOU pushed back. The commander pushed again. MOU said quietly, if the general continues like this, I will go back to the capital. The commander looked at him for a long moment, then picked up his wine. Then we served together. Together, Mo agreed. Zhao Su watched them drink and said, Commandant Mo serves as deputy general under the commander. That's the arrangement. Neither of them objected further. He had chosen Chong Wei because Chong Wei had been tested and was loyal down to the bone. He was giving Mo a position, not because MOD had sent him, but because Mo had earned it at Wuan County, and because a man dismissed from his post for doing the right thing deserved to be caught. The soldiers here would not follow a general in rebellion against the Yin prince. He had seen that demonstrated clearly during the purge after the fake death. The old principle of soldiers belonging to their commanders did not apply in this army, which was the only reason he could afford to trust a man he had known for 3 months with command over 60,000 soldiers. The commander took MOU back to the barracks. Then a sound like a small thunderclap came from the direction of the ordnance department. The commander's hand went to his sword. MOU turned. Zhao Su smiled and poured more wine. It's been like that for 2 days, he said. Pay no attention to it. At the ordnance department, Wang Ying's hand tightened around the clay cannon core, and he stood very still until the echo died. Then he looked at the courtyard wall in the direction of the small building Wang Chong had claimed for himself, and his jaw tightened. Wang Chong appeared at a run a moment later, face entirely black with powder residue, the expression of a man who has achieved something significant and is too pleased about it to bother with appearances. It's done. You almost ruined 3 days of work on this clay form, Wang Ying said, at a volume that suggested restraint was costing him something. Wang Chong laughed. He had been given the task of optimizing the black powder formula by the Prince of Yin, given a rough ratio, and told to find the maximum, and had spent 2 days in systematic, continuous, extremely loud experimentation. The fact that the sounds had been getting progressively louder was, from Wang Chong's perspective, conclusive evidence that the methodology was working. This humble general needs to report to His Highness, Wang Chong said, already moving. Wang Ying stared at his retreating back and then looked at the potters around him, who had the expressions of people who had been startled out of careful work one too many times and were choosing not to express this directly to the supervisor's son. He picked up his tools and went back to work on the clay barrel. In the prince's manor pavilion, Wang Chong bowed and announced his result. Zhao Su nodded. Good work, but this is only half done. Wang Chong's expression fell into confusion. The formula is correct. The power is real. But there's another problem, one that limits the cannon even when the formula is right. Zhao Su considered how to explain it. When you burn powder that's been ground very fine and packed tightly, what happens to the air inside it? Wang Chong thought. There isn't much. And fire needs the oxygen thing Your Highness mentioned. Exactly. Fine powder packed tight burns slowly because it's starved for what it needs. And when you move fine powder over long distances, the heavier and lighter components separate. So what arrives at the cannon isn't the same mixture that left the workshop. Wang Chong stared at him, then stared at the middle distance, his mind evidently moving rapidly. Zhao Su took out a piece of paper and wrote several lines. He handed it to Wang Chong. Granular powder. Mix the alcohol in, form it into particles roughly the size of a mung bean, and let it dry fully. When you test in your palm, it should not feel warm. Wang Chong read it twice. The particles give the fire room to breathe, he said slowly, and they stay mixed during transport because the particle is already the mixture. You'll understand it when you test it, Zhao Su said. Wang Chong bowed and left at speed. That evening, Zhao Su was in the study writing. He had decided, watching Wang Chong work, that what he needed was not just one brilliant craftsman, but the foundation of something larger. Mathematics, physics, chemistry, expressed in terms that a sharp 17-year-old with no formal education in these subjects could actually absorb and build from. He worked until the candles had burned low. Then, from the direction of Wang Ying's residential courtyard, a sound considerably louder than anything that day rattled the study window. Zhao Su set down his brush and smiled. Granular powder. Wang Chong had found it. At Wang Ying's house. The sound was followed by a pause, then the sound of Wang Ying's broom handle on furniture, then Wang Chong's voice saying things that were technically apologies but did not contain much apology. You stole my wine, Wang Ying said, with the specific fury of a man whose line has finally been crossed. That was a gift from the Yin Prince. I hadn't even opened it. His Highness the Yin Prince is truly extraordinary, Wang Chong said from behind his mother. He told me the power would be greater, and it absolutely was. If you weren't hiding behind your mother right now, Madame Wang said, with the patience of a woman who has watched this dynamic operate for 17 years, he takes after you. A rat's son can dig holes. You were the same at his age. Wang Ying threw the broom on the ground. He was not actually angry. He was the kind of man who communicated pride and frustration through the same channel, and what he was experiencing right now was primarily the former. His son had done in 2 days what most craftsmen would not have thought to attempt. He went inside and did not say this out loud. On the northern road through Qingfeng Pass, under a moonless sky, Guotu rode north with his guards, leaving Yin Prefecture behind him. He had made promises to Yuan Li and was now going to deliver on them. The Black Iron Royal Tent. Anka, the new acting king. The Northern D army at Yin Pass, with a 10-day ultimatum that the Great Song Emperor was almost certainly going to capitulate to. Yuan Li had read the Yin Pass situation and felt the scale of it. Not with fear for Great Song, with the particular calculation of a man who is trying to determine where his family lands when the existing structure comes apart. If the Northern D moves south in force next year, the Yuan family needed to be on the right side of that movement, or at least not on the wrong side. MOD's head was the price of that insurance. Guotu was the messenger carrying the offer. He was a man without loyalty to anything except his own advancement, which made him reliable for this particular task. A man with principles would have hesitated. 3 days north of Qingfeng Pass, the Northern D cavalry emerged from the grass with their scimitars out, and Guotu stated his business before they could decide how to proceed. The cavalry leader looked at him with the specific expression of someone who is deciding whether Yuan family constitutes a reason to keep someone alive. Then, come with us. Wolf Record Anka is now the king of the Black Iron Royal Tent. In the imperial court at Jinling, the argument had been running for 2 sessions. Old General Yang, white-bearded and loud, was demanding war with the passion of a man who had watched Great Song concede ground for 20 years and found it more than he could continue to bear. 8 generals had stepped forward with him. The first prince was on his side for reasons that were partly genuine and partly political. His mother had just formed an understanding with Consort Me, and the Yin Prince's honor was now adjacent to his own interests. Against them, the Minister of War, the Minister of Revenue, the Minister of Rights, 2 more ministers, and a general from the Shao family who had never been near a battle he didn't find reasons to avoid. The Prime Minister Do Wei had stated his position with the careful brevity of a man who knows he will win and doesn't need to exhaust himself making the case. After Ningjin, Great Song has not recovered strength. This humble official believes we should not lightly enter war. More than half the 8 great clans were against it. The 6th prince had been saying, with a bitterness he was not quite containing, that capturing Kudu had been a crime rather than an achievement, and that everything now unfolding was the direct consequence of the Yin Prince's recklessness. The first prince told him that was nonsense. Zhao Heng sat on the dragon throne and rubbed his temples. He looked at the math. The powerful families would not commit their armies. The imperial army was not what it had been before Ningjin. MOD's force at Yin Pass was the stopper in the bottle, and even if MOD held the pass, the court would not give him the resources to do more than hold it. And Kutu was in the prison, alive, returnable. Escort Kutu and the 2 wolf records to Yin Pass. The hall went quiet. Old General Yang looked as though he had been struck. The generals who had stepped forward with him stared at the floor. The ministers who had argued for accommodation looked at each other with the carefully neutral expressions of people who have gotten what they wanted and know better than to show it. In the Jinling prison, the cell door opened and an official appeared with new clothes and a respectful manner. Kutu's body tightened, then released. He had been in this cell for weeks, cycling through the fear of a man who knows his life is in someone else's hands and cannot predict the outcome. The Yin Prince would have killed him. He had been certain of that from the cage. It was only the arrival of Xie Quan and the imperial escort that had moved him out of reach of that particular certainty. This emperor was different. You may return to the grasslands, the official said. The excuse given was the Khan's benevolence and Great Song's desire for continued friendship. Kuta knew what the truth was. He did not need it stated. He looked at Chaoyera and Tiamu. They looked back at him. Then, slowly, something that had not been on any of their faces since Yen City appeared. They changed into their clothes and walked out into Jinling streets. Chaoyera pointed at a woman buying rouge and made a comment. Kutu watched the city, more prosperous than his memory of it, 10 years ago, the wealth accumulated in the years since, and thought about what he had always told the Khan, that the Song people were soft, that their cities were full of things worth taking, that the path south was worth whatever it cost to open it. The Imperial Army soldiers escorting them heard every word and stared at the road ahead with fixed expressions. One day, Kutu said to Tiamu, watching a merchant's cart pass, "All of this belongs to us." On the third floor of a restaurant on the street, 9 young people in expensive robes watched the procession pass. They were the kind of young people who existed at the specific intersection of noble birth and idleness that Jinling produced in abundance. Not princes, but adjacent to power in ways that made them feel they understood it. One of them was Yuan Li's eldest son, currently enrolled at the Imperial Academy in the manner of someone who is present rather than studying. When the blue-robed youth said that Yuan Su's family must have been frightened, Yuan Su pointed out that no family in the imperial court had actually advocated for war, and the room went the particular quiet that rooms go when someone has said something accurate that nobody wants to acknowledge. Then a clear female voice from somewhere nearby, calm, entirely certain of itself. The Prince of Yin fought a bloody campaign. He captured Kutu and showed the Great Song's army could actually win. And now Kuta goes free. If the Prince of Yin knew, I wonder how he would feel. There is not a single man in this Jinling city worth comparing to him. None of the 9 spoke. This was Princess Changle. Nobody in Jinling corrected Princess Changle. Her favor with the Emperor was not a political position, but something older and more absolute. The particular invulnerability of the person who has always been loved most. Yuan Su looked at the procession disappearing down the street and said nothing. The Bastion construction workers assembled outside the north gate of Yen City in numbers that surprised even Zhou Rong. The notice had gone out 5 days ago. 3 meals provided, 1 tael of silver per month, work in exchange for honest wages to build fortifications against the northern D. The response had been immediate and physical, people running to the registration tables faster than the Yamen runners had expected. At Zhu County, a scholar reading the notice aloud to the gathered crowd had barely finished before people were pushing past him toward the sign-up desk, and 2 men had briefly fought in the queue out of anxiety about their position in line. Zhou Rong reported the completion of recruitment to Zhao Su with a weight lifted from his posture. The people have been gathered, ready to depart within 2 days. He paused. My concern is Northern D scouts. Before the heavy snow seals the passes, they still range into Yin Prefecture. The common people building the bastions would be exposed. 1,000 soldiers per bastion site, Zhao Su said. The work is protected. Zhou Rong's shoulders settled fully. He had half expected to need to argue for this. The Yin prince had simply said it as though the thought had already been settled, which it apparently had. Depart in 2 days, Zhao Su confirmed. This matter is of great importance. No carelessness. Zhou Rong left with the particular posture of a man who has been told something is important by someone whose standards he understands clearly and who does not intend to fall short of them. Zhao Su looked at the drawing on the desk in front of him. A warship, 3 masts, 3 decks, 70 meters of length, 24 of beam. The small windows along the hull's perimeter, 40 of them, eventually, would house cannon. He had been working through the design for days, sourced from the accumulated naval architecture of 3 centuries, distilled into what he could actually build with current materials and current craftsmen. The design was sound. The cannon would exist within months. The hull was the problem. Yin Prefecture faced the sea to the southeast. The north was not a region with shipbuilding tradition, no good yards, no experienced craftsmen, no established knowledge base for ocean-going construction. Lu Fu had confirmed this after being asked, and having nothing useful to say. Phone knocked. Your Highness, the Commander and Deputy General Mo have arrived. Send them in. The commander came through the door, already talking. Your Highness, the Ministry of Works has taken every able-bodied man available. This humble General and Deputy General Mo were about to begin new recruitment, and now there is no one left to recruit. Mo was behind him with the expression of a man who was talked into coming and is not entirely comfortable about it. Zhao Su looked at the commander with a patience he had developed through considerable practice. Those people were never for the army. They were always for the bastions. He paused. Go to Shanggu Commandery for your recruits. You cannot drain every young man from Yin Prefecture. Who tills the fields when the soldiers are training? The commander scratched his head. He had assumed the Ministry of Works was competing with him, which was the standard state of civil-military relations, and had seemed reasonable. What does the Ministry of Works need so many people for? He asked. Zhao Su explained the bastions and told them to assign protective details to each construction site. Mo looked at the 5 mark points on the map with something that went past appreciation into something more personal. If the imperial court had this kind of determination, he said quietly, it would not have come to this. Then, studying the map, Your Highness, what is a cannon? You'll know soon, Zhao Su said. He was about to send them out when something occurred to him. Mo had grown up in the capital, trained at Yin Pass, traveled with military expeditions. He might know people. General Mo, do you know anyone in the Great Song who can build large ships? Mo looked at him. Does Your Highness intend to build a navy? The idea is there. The problem is the talent. Mo was quiet for a moment. Actually, there is someone. Right here in Yin Prefecture. He paused. But what? This person supervised warship construction for the Ningjin Army's navy before the battle. When the imperial court retreated to Yin Pass and made clear they had no intention of reclaiming Ningjin, he retired to Yinhai County. My father visited him several times trying to recruit him. He refused every time. He said he would not serve the imperial court again. Zhao Su stood up. Take this king to see him. Mo stared at him. Yinhai County was in the southeastern corner of Yin Prefecture, where the land flattened out and ran toward the sea. Zhao Su smelled it before he saw it. Salt and tide, and the particular freshness of coastal air that was entirely absent from Yin City. When the coast appeared through the trees, he felt something he had not expected to feel. A deep, uncomplicated recognition. He had spent years in a world where the ocean was a known quantity, a medium for commerce and power that nations had organized themselves around for centuries. Now he was looking at it from the other direction, from the shore of a world that had not yet understood what it meant. Mo had explained the situation 3 times during the ride, each time with more emphasis on the word refused, apparently concerned that the Prince of Yin had not processed the information the first 2 times. Zhao Su had listened and said nothing and continued riding. County Magistrate Song Tsong met them at the road and accompanied them east along the shore. 2 or 3 li from the county town, a beach appeared, golden, flat, the water close in and clearly deep. Thatched huts, 2 women cleaning fish, 3 children who hid behind the women when the group appeared. Mo went ahead to ask. The women relaxed at the sight of him, pointed toward the sea, and said Chen Shou was fishing. Won't be back until evening, Your Highness, Mo reported. We could return to the county town. This king wants to look around, Zhao Su said. He spent the afternoon walking the coastline. The geography was what he had suspected. The bay's shape, the depth of the water close to shore, the flat land behind it. In the world he had come from, this stretch of coast had become one of the most significant ports in northern China. It had been deep enough for large ships for the same reason it was deep enough now. He did not need to find a port. He was standing on it. When the sun began to flatten against the sea, a small boat appeared as a dark point on the red water, growing slowly larger. Zhao Su stayed where he was. Mo went down to the waterline. He was there for some time, and when he came back his expression indicated that things had gone as he had predicted. He won't see you, Your Highness. He was glad to see me, but when I mentioned the Prince of Yin, Zhao Su took the ship blueprint from his robe and gave it to Mo. Go again. Show him this. Tell him this king questions whether he has the ability to build such a thing. Mou looked at the blueprint, looked at Zhao Su, looked at the blueprint again. My father tried provocation as well, Your Highness. It did not. Go, Zhao Su said pleasantly. Mou went. Chun Shou was a short, thin man somewhere in his 60s, with the skin of someone who had spent decades working near water and the hands of craftsmen who had never considered stopping. He was in the shallows, untangling his nets when Mou returned. His expression at Mou's approach was fond and exasperated in equal measure. The expression of a man who likes someone and wishes they would stop coming on behalf of people he has already refused. Then Mou held out the blueprint. Chun Shou's hand stopped moving. The net slipped. He took the blueprint and turned it. Mou watched the old man's face go through something he had never seen on it before in multiple visits over multiple years. The controlled flatness fell away and was replaced by something unguarded and immediate, the response of a craftsman encountering the work of another craftsman at a level they had not expected to encounter. His hands were very slightly trembling. Who drew this? Mou took the blueprint back. Chun Shou's hand stayed extended for a moment. The Prince of Yin drew it. Since Elder Chun has no interest in serving him, the blueprint and the Prince of Yin are both unrelated to you. He turned and walked back up the beach. Behind him, silence. Then, wait. Mou did not stop walking. I'll come. Take me to him. Mou turned around, allowing himself the expression of a man whose prediction has been pleasantly violated. On the shore, Zhao Su waited while Mou brought the old man up from the water. Song Tsang was standing well back, apparently aware that this moment required room. Chun Shou bowed. This commoner, Chun Shou, greets His Royal Highness. Rise, Zhao Su said. Elder Chun. Chun Shou straightened and looked at him. A 16-year-old in the clothes of a prince, with the eyes of someone considerably older, on a beach in Yin Prefecture, holding blueprints for a ship that shouldn't exist yet. Where did your highness obtain these designs? This king drew them, Zhao Su said. If Elder Chun wants to see more complex designs, this king can draw them. Chun Shou went still. The pride of a man who has spent 40 years mastering something, encountering in a young face the evidence that mastery has been exceeded, produces a very specific internal weather. Chun Shou stood in it for a moment. Then, slowly, something that had been held closed for years opened. Your Highness is highly talented. This old man is ashamed to be inferior. He exhaled, not defeat, but release. Just based on the ship, I am convinced. From now on, I am willing to serve your highness. He had come to the coast years ago because there was nothing left he wanted to build for people who would not use it. He had assumed that was permanent. He had not accounted for this. Zhao Su nodded. This king is glad to have you, he said. There's a great deal of work to do.